Okay, so now that you've learned by doing, remember, what was the saying? Tell me and I'll forget. Uh, Show me and I'll remember. Um, Make me do it and I'll understand. Something like that. Anyway, um, because you've actually had a go yourself at working out some Aristotelian causes for human-made objects around you, you now understand that bit of Aristotle. Good. So now we come on to turning that bit of ancient philosophy of science into a tool for reading. So what we're going to do is rewrite those four causes for texts. So let's step through them. The material cause, what does it say? Literally, what is the content of the text? Not what is it trying to say. So some texts will be oblique, some texts will be sarcastic or ironic, some texts may indicate without actually saying what they want you to understand. We're not asking those questions. We're just asking the bare facts. What literally does the text say? So if the text is something that where there's a surface meaning and a hidden meaning, we're just asking what's the surface meaning, right? That's the material cause. What's the matter? What does the text say? Literally, as if read by somebody who doesn't really know about irony and sarcasm and double meanings and the influence of context and so on. Like just flatly, literally, what is the matter? What does it say? The formal cause, what is the structure? What is the genre? So is it an epic poem? Is it an essay? Is it a novel? Is it a pamphlet? Is it a research paper? What? What is the structure? Okay. May also things like how many chapters, are the chapters long or short? Things about register, tone, and so on, right? Anything kind of formal in the literary sense. That's the formal cause. The efficient cause, how, when, by whom was it written, and how, when, by whom, and for whom was it published, right? And where. The circumstances, all the circumstantial stuff. That's the efficient cause, right? The time and the place, the people involved. And finally, the final cause is what larger purpose is it part of, right? So if it's a political pamphlet, you would then talk about, well, the larger political effort that it was, or the larger political movement that it was a part of. Okay, let's come on to some examples in a minute, but one thing to think about is that gives you four questions, right? What does it say? What's the shape or the form and the genre, the structure, all the structural questions? When, where, by whom was it written? When, where, and by whom? And for whom was it published? The efficient cause and the final cause. What's the intended effect? What's the greater purpose that it's part of, right? Now, those four questions interrelate. If you've got four elements, how many different ways of connecting them are there? If you want to do some maths, you can stop the video now and work it out. Okay, it's not very hard. It's not very hard because if you've got 4 points, then you need 6 lines to join them pair by pair to create a tetrahedron like this. Anyway, that gives you 6 questions, right? 6 questions about relations between the 4 causes. So what's the relation between the material cause and the formal cause? What's the relation between the material cause and the efficient cause? What's the relation between the material cause and the final cause? And so on, right? And that gives you six. Gives you six in total. And sometimes they might all be in sync, right? It may be that the material cause and the efficient cause and the final cause and the formal cause are all well matched. And that will generally be a sign of quality. Or there may be some mismatch. And the mismatch might just be unfortunate. It might be lack of skill on the part of the author. So it could be that, somebody's tried to publish an epic poem, but they're publishing it now when epic poetry is wildly out of fashion, right? If they'd done it in at a historical point when epic poems were very much the thing, would have been great. But now, who wants to read an epic poem? So, in that case, the formal cause, the genre, epic poetry, and the efficient cause, the time and the place, will be out of whack, and that would just be, through lack of skill. Or there might be a mismatch between the causes that's deliberate to create a certain effect. For example, The Rape of the Lock has the form of an epic poem. Now, an epic poem has to have certain elements. It has to have a feast. It has to have a battle scene. It has to have interventions by gods and other supernatural elements. So if you think about the great epic poems of Homer, right, the Iliad and the Odyssey, people are always feasting. They're always going on journeys. There is no end of fighting. The whole story of the Iliad leads up to this huge battle between Ulysses and the suitors of Penelope. And the gods are always sticking their noses in, right? So those are the elements of an epic poem, and it's got to be something huge and heroic, right? It's a 10-year war or a 10-year journey home from a war, something like that. So that's the form of the epic poem. And The Rape of the Lock has all that. But the matter is trivial. The matter is, it's about young unmarried courtiers at Hampton Court Palace larking about, right? So there's all these people whose job is just to be at court, be part of the royal entourage. And that's basically what they have to do in life. So they've got time on their hands. And it's all this kind of playful, flirtatious kind of society. So what happens is one of the lads creeps up to one of the girls and cuts off a lock of her hair, right? This is his great adventure, and he makes off with it. Like Jason seizing the golden fleece or something like that. And she, of course, is outraged and, strife ensues. So all of this gets written up as if it was epic. It gets written up in the form of an epic poem. And that creates a comedic mismatch between the form and the content, between the form and the matter, right? The form is heroic. The matter, the content, the material cause is very much not, right? So in that case, the relationship between the material cause and the formal cause is a mismatch for humorous effect. The relationship between the material cause and the efficient cause will be something to do with the fact that this is a time when the court is full of young layabouts with nothing to do apart from lark around. So it has a kind of satirical, kind of political side to it, to do with the current affairs of the moment. And it's a time and a place where people will understand epic poetry, where there's there's an educated readership who will have read their Homer and their and the like as part of their educations, and will think it's a great jape. A bit like, imagine like the downfall memes. You take something very serious that everybody's seen or read, and play with it. It's kind of like that. Okay, so that's the game here. Is you take your text, you identify your 4 causes. Then once you've got your 4 causes, you look at the 6 relations between those causes, and you work them out and you step through them. And what makes this a powerful tool for reading is that you do this methodically, right? So it may involve some repetition. It may seem dull, kind of flat-footed and plodding, but in cases where you're trying to understand some dense text, philosophical, historical, literary, whatever it is, carving up a piece of paper into 4 quarters, and slowly and carefully and somewhat boringly answering these questions does help you to understand what it is that you're reading. Okay, so take a moment to perhaps think about how this model might apply to something you're reading already. Have a play with it. And then come back to the videos for me talking through 1 or 2 examples. Okay, talk to you soon.